Welcome to Strike a Pose, the web series from Sideshow in which 3 contestants battle it out in a 6-scale figure posing competition. Each contestant will be given 12 minutes to hit the best pose that they can. When the time's up, they'll all 3 be judged in 3 categories: creativity, composition, and character. The contestant with the best overall score wins. All right, welcome to a very special Halloween edition of Strike a Pose. Each of our contestants today has a background of one sort or another in the world of horror. It's a background that it's going to lend itself to their benefit once that figure is revealed. You'll all understand then. Without further ado, let's meet today's contestants. All right, let's meet today's posers. First up is Adam. Next is Frank. And last but not least, we have Anthony. Hello, Adam.
Hey, Terry.
Thanks so much for being on the show. Talk to us a little bit about what you've been up to.
Yeah, so I'm a character designer and sculptor and painter and kind of all-around practical effects guy. Spent the past 10 years working on all kinds of different monster movies, and now I am full-time running my own special effects company in Colorado called Creature Kid.
That's an interesting location. Are you from Colorado originally? Is that why you chose there instead of more LA-based?
Yeah, from Colorado, and also there's no effects company in Colorado. All the effects companies are in LA, so it's nice to kind of be separated from everything.
Yeah, I believe you. Last but not least, obviously you've got quite a few talents at your disposal. What specifically do you think it is, though, that's going to take you over the top and allow you to win today's contest?
Like I said, I'm a sculptor, so I'm really good at designing poses, composition, adding weight to things, so it looks like, things are walking on their feet, and I'm pretty good at it. Very
formidable skills to have in this show, so good luck. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, Frank.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well, sir. Welcome to Strike a Pose. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You are a horror aficionado, animation storyboard artist. Talk to us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, well, basically I do storyboards for film and TV, so I've worked on a lot of animation projects like Bob's Burgers and Solar Opposites, but I've also worked on, a lot of horror films like Insidious: The Last Key. I've worked on Conjuring 3, Lovecraft Country, some Blumhouse movies, so basically the storyboard part is you work with the director and you kind of draw out the scenes, and a lot of it is the special effects, the kill scenes, the monsters, the creatures. So I get to draw monsters and creatures and, blood and guts and gore and like just crazy stuff all day. So yeah, it's really fun. I get to draw horror all day long.
Wow, that is like a lot of people's dream job. If I had the skills, I think I would have loved to do that myself. Of all the things that you just talked about, is there anything that you think is going to contribute heavily to you being the overall victor in today's contest?
Well, I think that, I've been a poser my whole life, so I've been very good at posing, at a lot of things. So now the fact that I draw horror, and I'm always drawing dynamic poses, and, I draw comic books, and it's always about the composition and the pose and just like getting stuff with dramatic lighting. I think that, that's going to allow me to really dominate, and have a really cool pose. So yes, I'm here to dominate at Strike the Pose today.
Well, that sounds like you've got quite a bit of confidence going for you there. That's good to hear. It always helps in this show. So looking forward to seeing what you churn out for us.
Thanks for having me. I'm psyched. Hello,
Anthony.
Hi, Terry.
It's very nice to meet you, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's very nice to meet you as well. I've enjoyed watching some episodes of Strike a Pose, getting ready to appear here. So
you've done homework. That's great.
A little bit, yeah.
Awesome. Before we get into that, talk to us a little bit about Monsteramicon.
Monsterama is a classic monster and horror convention that I co-run here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we celebrate classic sci-fi, kaiju, Godzilla, Dracula, Universal Monsters, Hammer Horror, anything up through about 1990 or so. By the time this airs, it will have just happened a couple of weeks ago. So next year, join us around the second weekend of October.
Ah, that's fantastic, man. I really dig the idea that you had that cutoff date. Like, okay, all the stuff leading up to that particular time frame. That's.
I mean, we can be flexible as well, but generally speaking, we try and hit a spot that is underserved here in the Southeast, an audience that doesn't really have any place else to go to celebrate this kind of stuff. So
that's really, really cool. I hope to make it down there someday. I'm a lot closer there than I used to be, so anything's possible. So before we move on, just tell us really quick, your experience with horror, your experience with monsters, how do you think that's going to help you carry yourself over the top and into the winter circle on today's show?
I've been in a monster orbit for a very long time, since I was a kid. And I am also, in addition to running Monsterama, I'm a film journalist and author. And I'm the licensing and brand manager for the Bram Stoker estate, the author of Dracula. So I'm kind of a professional horror nerd. And frankly, I've been posing action figures since OG Mego. So these kids got nothing on me.
Never doubt the voice of experience. Definitely. Thank you so much, Anthony. All right, gentlemen, the time has come to unwrap your packages. Each of you has a box that was shipped to you that contains a figure. Put that thing up on the table, rip it open like it was Christmas.
Look at that. I love it, man.
Open now?
Come on, let's go.
Shred it. Yeah, rip it
Open
out.
now.
Yeah. This is the big reveal, everybody. This is where you get to find out what you're going to do.
Love it, man.
Gosh, Frank, are you overcompensating for something there?
We'll see. We'll see when I start dominating at the pose.
The trash talking has officially begun.
Okay. All right.
What is this? 6 scale?
You're only halfway there. Keep ripping.
Oh boy. I like it.
3rd box. Nice. Look at this. Leatherface.
That's awesome.
Totally
cool.
sick.
I like it.
It really is.
Look at that.
This
Oh,
is
baby.
amazing.
Sure is a heavy figure, isn't it?
It's got some heft to it.
Yeah. There's some weight to that one.
Love it. Love it.
This is excellent. Ooh.
That's right. It's the Leatherface Deluxe 6-scale figure by Sideshow, and it is glorious. You have an impeccably tailored costume head to toe, the suit that he wore towards the last half of the film, from dinner onward, you might say. There's a variety of hands. You get not one, but 2 portraits, all the weapons that he uses to kill and carve and bash and what have you, and his introductory apron for a costume change. I really can't wait to see what all of our contestants are able to pull off with this figure, so let's let them do their thing. Adam, talk to me a little bit about your experience with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm assuming you've seen it and know a thing or two about it.
Okay. I've seen the movie, but growing up, the remake is what terrified me, which is kind of interesting. You know, being a younger kid, that's the one I got to see in theaters. So I didn't get to educate myself on the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre until I was an adult getting the DVD. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Scary movie, terrifying movie. I know historically, horror movie wise, the importance of it, and just what a classic, iconic image that is. Right?
Awesome, cool. Frank, talk to us about your experience with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When did you first see it? How do you feel about the film?
Terry, I was a young boy when I first saw the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it scared the heck out of me. It was disturbing. It was terrifying. I mean, and there's nothing I like better than a serial-killing, flesh-wearing, skin-wearing maniac. So this is a great figure. It was a great movie. I can't wait to pose out a maniacal killer for this competition.
Your statement meets with my approval. I'm really looking forward to that maniacal pose. Anthony, I know you've got a thing or two to say about this figure. What are your thoughts?
I think it looks. I'm really excited to dig into it and find out. I mean, I must have worn out at least 2 or 3 VHS copies of Texas Chainsaw Massacre back in the '80s. I was. It took me a while to get up the courage to see it, just because the trailers and the ads for it were so terrifying. But it's a classic. It's part of that Ed Gein cycle, where it's based on a real serial killer, as same guy that Psycho was based on, and it's definitely something that is a milestone in horror cinema. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun posing this fella.
Okay, now in the early days of Strike a Pose, the winner of the contest was the only person who got to keep the figure. But given the special nature of the at-home edition of Strike a Pose these days, we're allowing all of our contestants to keep their 6-scale figures of Leatherface. So congratulations, all of you, on the new addition to your collections.
That's excellent.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is great.
Awesome.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Love it.
So as part of this deal, the winner instead may be asked later on down the line to be invited back for a special edition of Strike a Pose. Something like a Tournament of Champions or something along those lines. So there's that to look forward to.
Cool.
Sounds great.
All right, each of today's posers has in front of him an identical Leatherface 6-scale figure by Sideshow, as well as an identical array of accessories. Posers, are you ready to start posing?
Yeah.
We're ready.
Ready to go.
All right, then, without further ado, let's begin today's competition in 3, 2, 1, go. Already a good start. Heads and hands popping off. Yeah.
The first thing I like to do, Terry, is pop the head off.
That's probably perfect for the genre there, Frank.
A
Yeah.
headless figure always kind of gets you into the mode, you know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Headless, handless.
Nightmare fuel.
Yeah, I'm doing the same. No head, no hands. No service.
Now, when considering which accessory to use with my pose here today, I weighed back and forth between the hammer and the chainsaw. Now, obviously I went with the chainsaw. Ultimately, I decided it's the most iconic of all the weapons that are included here, so obviously it should be included. But I thought, will our posers be thinking the same thing? Who knows? And we're going to find out here in a few minutes. Having said that, I started thinking, wouldn't it be fun to include more than one? And then I thought, what if they included all three? So with that in mind, I'm going to be awarding an extra point to any poser that includes in any way the use of all three of these weapons in his pose here today. Is it overkill? Maybe, but look who we're talking about here. Additionally, starting with this season of Strike a Pose, we've begun to award an extra point to whichever poser hits as closely as possible the exact same pose that I strike before the show. And that's this pose right here. So thematically, or compositionally, if you will, anybody who comes reasonably close to this, I will give an extra point to today. Let's just see if that happens.
Anthony, just want to give you a little friendly advice here. We're posing for Sideshow Collectibles, so let's not do a Hallmark Halloween after school special pose. Okay, let's do something for Sideshow.
By all means, sir. By all means, I'm with you on that.
Adam's professional world exists in 3 dimensions, much like 6-scale figure posing. I wonder how much of that is going to play into his final score today, because I think it's really going to work in his favor. Frank's wheelhouse is a total trifecta of horror. He writes horror, he draws horror, he storyboards horror. I'm just wondering how much of that is going to play into what kind of pose he hits for us today. Anthony's carved a pretty significant niche for himself in the horror world. His experience with the genre encompasses decades. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that sort of passion brings to the table when he's posing this Leatherface figure. Freeze! We have reached the point in today's competition, gentlemen, where we throw you guys a curveball.
This Halloween, creep it real with all your favorite spooky characters from Sideshow, featuring delightfully ghoulish goodies such as Michael Myers, Freddy and Jason, Pennywise, Nightmare Before Christmas, Dracula, and many more sinister characters that are sure to give your room that extra fright. Put the eek in geek this Halloween with Sideshow.
Terry, would you say that my other competitors have a little hamstring from their experience in posing, and that me as a novice poser actually will bring something unique and spontaneous to the table here today.
I'm an impartial judge and jury, and possibly executioner, for all you know. Adam, you are the soul of concentration, my friend.
I had an idea and it wasn't working, so now I'm switching it up.
So I thought maybe your stoicism was more of a tactic. Let him keep thinking.
Yeah, that's Adam through and through. He's stoic.
All right, gentlemen, hands off your figures.
Hands off.
Hands off your figures. Hands up. Stop where you are. Stop where you are. Freeze.
Hands up.
All right. We have reached the point in today's competition, gentlemen, where we throw you guys a curveball. That being said, it's the implementation of a caveat that we hope will shake things up a bit and make it a little bit more interesting and challenging for those of you out there who may think that this is just a bit too simple. To that end, I'm going to ask you all to swap out the heads that you're using.
Aww.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Beginning again in 3, 2, 1, and go.
Oh, we're timing that one.
This is going to make it interesting because the shifting of the heads actually has the potential to throw off the pose a little bit.
Yeah.
4 minutes left, gentlemen.
Oh, we still have more time?
Oh, we still have
Oh,
more
you
time?
have a lot of time, yeah.
Oh,
Go for it.
shoot, I didn't know that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
yeah,
so we can-
yeah.
So we can swap out the heads and what? Work on the pose?
And modify it.
Yeah, you do whatever you need to do. You do whatever you need to do, man. You have 4 minutes left, like I said. Looking closely here, I think that Adam is planning on using all of the weapons in his pose. If that's the case, then that's really going to work in his favor, and I'll explain why later. Okay, really surprised to see that Anthony has chosen to use the alternate Leatherface portrait as a severed head. That's something that I did not foresee, and I'm really kind of excited to see what he does with the rest of the figure. Just looking at Frank's pose so far, we're nearing the end, and it looks like it needs a little bit of development. But I think what I'm seeing here kind of reflects the two-dimensional nature of his career. The storyboard artistry is definitely apparent in what I'm seeing right now. Have you guys been watching what your competitors are doing in there, or are you
Not
at least
really.
marginally familiar? Yeah?
I'm a little too involved in what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the zone.
I think focusing is where it's at.
Shoot, how many minutes do we have?
You currently have 2.5 minutes. Just I usually throw you a 2-minute warning. So. Uh-oh. Looks like Adam has made the last-minute decision to do a full-on costume change for his figure. Ugh, that makes me nervous just watching it. Oh, Adam, man.
Yeah,
Dramatic
I'm
change
changing
of
my
pose,
mind
yeah.
now. I don't like that. The head
Wow.
didn't go good with what I was doing there.
Okay,
So now,
all right.
With that head, I got to change it up. It's the bracelet.
2-minute warning, everybody.
I feel it. I'm feeling the pressure. Anthony, are you feeling the pressure?
I am feeling the pressure. It seems, watching it online, it seems to go a lot slower when you're not actually doing it.
Do you guys go way back? I noticed there's a certain familiarity between Frank and Anthony.
No, I've never met Frank.
You guys just have a natural repartee. That's great. A
apparently we
natural
do.
rapport, rather. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know if Anthony was drawing on his classic monster movie inspiration, or if he was trying to draw from early 90s stuff.
45 seconds, gentlemen.
See, I kind of want to be like close to cam. Like, that would be a cool pose right there. See that?
Oh, you'll have the opportunity.
I want to show it off, baby.
30 seconds, everyone.
That's where the extra points are going to come in. Is there going to be extra credit?
There is one more opportunity for an extra point that has not yet been announced.
Oh.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands off figures. The contest is over, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
Did it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Whoa, looks cool.
All right, Adam.
Hey.
I noticed there at the last minute that you made the questionable decision to just completely revamp your pose in the last 5 minutes. Tell me your story. Tell Leatherface's story from your perspective.
So what I decided is I tried doing the chainsaw above his head. Wasn't looking quite right. So I changed it to this. So what's going on here is that you could see he's obviously looking down at someone, and he's wielding the hammer over his head about to bash him. But I tried to really focus on showing the weight of a chainsaw with one hand, so straight arm, it's pulling down. I tried to make it so it's basically balanced from all angles, where you go, okay, it looks like he's holding a heavy chainsaw. His torso's cocked over, and the hammer is being held a bit higher, so there's the weight to that. His wrist is cocked back, showing that there's weight to this. It looks like a statue, in my opinion, as far as like...
Yep.
Just making... I mean, that's what I like focusing on for like any figure is the weight has to be there, right? And he's a heavy dude. Also chainsaws are crazy heavy, so...
I always say that when you have a figure that comes with a lot of accessories, you should try to implement as many of them as possible. So I applaud you for that. That's really awesome that you were able to pull that off. Okay. Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Frank, you've got him in full-on butcher mode.
Yeah, Terry, I originally, my first pose, I had him with the hammer, and then I tried him with the chainsaw, and I figured, well, I'm sure the other contestants might also use the chainsaw, so I wanted to change it up a bit. So I went with a running pose, and I took the hammer out of his hand and put the knife in, because look, the reason I did it was, you could kill somebody with a chainsaw, it's one thing and you're dead. You kill somebody with a hammer, it's one hit and you're dead. But with a knife, it takes a multiple stabs, right? So the death is a little more horrific, I think, with a knife. So that's why I chose the knife. And the running pose is, look, who doesn't like to be scared by a running serial killer, right? So he's running, he's lunging, he has the hammer in his pocket. That may have been not such a great idea. If you're running, that thing's going to fall out. So I would probably take that back if I had another 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's a running stabbing pose is what I did.
That is 100% nightmare fuel, man. The notion of Leatherface chasing me down wrapped in an apron with a knife over his head like that. I actually kind of dig the fact that you included the hammer with it. That stayed
In the pocket.
The safety's the furthest thing from his mind.
Right.
If you had to guess what Leatherface's battle cry might be, what would it sound like? What would it be?
I think if...
I'm sensing battle cry material here.
Yeah, if Leatherface had a battle cry, I mean, he's kind of animalistic, right? So he doesn't really have a voice, or he doesn't really say words. I don't think he would ever say words. So to say like, I'm going to kill you wouldn't really work. I think it would be something like... with a little bit of echo, a little grovel in the throat. I think it would be something like that.
Way to bring it, man. That was fantastic. Guttural. Yeah. Guttural. Yeah, just primal.
Primal. Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. Anthony, your turn. Last but not least, as always, how's it looking there? How you feeling about that pose?
I'm pretty happy with it. Like Adam, I started out to maybe have him holding the chainsaw over his head, like in the poster, but I still wanted to have him represent as much carnage as possible. I've got him sort of balanced on his right foot, and he's like building kinetic energy. He's like moving back just before he bounces, and he's got the chainsaw. He's got a severed head. He's got a severed hand that he's just stuck in his pocket. He's got his knife in case he needs to do a little filleting a little bit later. And just in case that's not enough, he stuffed the hammer down his apron.
That's really, I actually had to blow up the screen really quick, Anthony, because I couldn't see that you had the severed head going on with the other hand. High marks for creativity for that. That's not something that I ever considered. But that's a really, really cool touch. I love that. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Creativity. Composition. Character. All right. Very excited to announce this one because today's winner is...
From heroes to villains to creatures, Sideshow's mission is in creating highly detailed statues, posable figures, fine art prints, and prop replicas. At the core of Sideshow is a team of passionate artists and fans dedicated to celebrating our favorite characters and universes. We give fans access to an extensive catalog of hand-picked, high-end collectibles.
All right, the scores have been tallied, the results are in. Now, on Strike a Pose, we're constantly trying to find ways to keep things fresh and exciting. To that end, we've started implementing different means for our contestants to earn extra points. For example, prior to the beginning of the show, I struck a pose with a Leatherface 6-scale figure that I have here, with the intent that anybody at home today who was posing their Leatherface who happened to hit the same pose or remotely close to that pose would actually earn an extra point. Total shot in the dark. Today's pose by me is this guy right here.
Nice.
And I'm sorry to say that nobody pulled it off. Nobody did it, which is understandable. Yeah,
The
but
two-handed
that's cool.
chainsaw pose. I love it.
We also determined before the show begins an accessory or accessories that, if implemented by the posers, will earn them an extra point. In this case, it was more than one. It was more than two. It was, in fact, three. Any poser who found some way to implement all three weapons into his pose will be awarded an extra point. To that end, extra points have been awarded today to both Adam and Anthony.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
Damn.
Very sorry, Frank, that you missed out on that one. Very sorry. Yeah. So with that knowledge, the knowledge of the extra points that have been awarded today, are you guys ready to find out who today's winner is?
We're ready.
Absolutely.
Right.
Let's do this.
All right. Very excited to announce this one because today's winner, with a combined total of 29 points, an all-time high for the show, is Adam.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Nice.
Adam. Congratulations, Adam.
Very
Thank
cool.
you.
Congrats,
I get to keep
man.
the toy now.
Good work.
Did you just say an all-time high?
It was an all-time high. No one's ever scored 29 points.
That's
Wow.
amazing. That's amazing.
Amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We've had a 28 before, and that was before with the implementation of extra credit. So you're on a par with at least one other person.
Dang.
Really cool, man.
That's
It's
cool.
great. It's a thing of
That's
beauty.
amazing. That's an honor. Look at that.
Adam, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you,
That's
man.
exciting.
It's really legitimately a nearly perfect pose. In fact, I had to resist an urge just to go ahead and throw a perfect score up there, just to give people a place to go. It's really that good. You discussed openly when we talked about the pose earlier. We talked about how you paid special attention to the weight and how the weight of the hammer affected the way that the wrist was, how his own weight affected his posture. Everything you paid special attention to every conceivable detail in this pose, and it shows. The end result is what we're seeing here before us. Legitimately something that if this were used as design for a statue, I'd be sorely tempted to buy that statue. And I should point out to everybody watching at home, remind everybody that Adam pulled this off in the final 2 minutes of the competition. He legitimately changed his mind and said, "Nah, afraid not," and did something completely different and brought it all home. It's job well
Thank
done,
you.
dude. Really
Thank you
impressive
so much,
performance.
Terry.
Thank you. All right, Frank. Great stuff.
Thank you.
I liked the fact that this is pure, unadulterated, classic Psycho look. You've got the knife over the head, running after the victim. The inclusion of the apron, just everything about that is horrific, including the meat face that he's wearing. Look at you. You're like moving it back and forth towards me. I'm getting terrified just watching it.
I'm happy. You made me happy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, Terry, it was an amazing competition, and Anthony brought a lot to the table with his knowledge of classic horror and horror films. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge in that respect. And Adam, of course, doing special effects for movies and film. Like, I wasn't even thinking about weight and posture and gravity. Like, I came to it with a perspective of like storyboarding, and let's do something in, an action pose where it's like, let's get, something in motion. And if maybe seeing it up close makes it. Do I get any more points for that? Seeing it coming at you, But anyway,
I'm certainly far more horrified than I was before.
See, if it was a little darker and there was some lighting, that would have won me.
You brought up an interesting point earlier when you talked about how you were approaching it from a storyboarding perspective. When I approach my posing, I'm doing it with the eye of a photographer. We're talking about two-dimensional mediums here, so we have a very specific idea of what that final product is going to look like. Bringing that third dimension into play there isn't something that we always consider. Sometimes it's best to actually look at the figure from the perspective that we had in our minds when we hit that pose. And I think that what you just showed us there is is a perfect example of how that works. Anthony, great stuff.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate it.
I really was struck, and I can't remember if I said this on camera before, but the inclusion of the other masked portrait as a severed head was inspired. Absolutely inspired. I never would have. I don't know that I ever would have considered that. Yeah, good work. It really, really adds an element to it. I dig it combined with the chainsaw over the head. You get this really cool S look going on between that arm leading down into this arm, which is something that I always try to hit with any pose that I do with a figure. So I really genuinely appreciate that. Very cool.
Sure, I appreciate that. And it's definitely, I was going for kind of a diagonal in the pose, and I think Adam really hit it with the showing the weight of the things in his hands, and I was conscious of that, and I was trying to get to it, and it just ran out of time. So I think it looks like it's a very light looking chainsaw, but other than that, I'm very happy with it.
I think I can say the same thing about the way that I have him holding the chainsaw in my pose. It definitely doesn't look as heavy as it is. But I think overall what you've done here is really great. Again, it was very difficult for me to judge this competition because all three of the poses were first rate.
Well, I had a great time doing it, and
I'm so glad.
I'm now a fan of the show forever. So
awesome! That's great to hear. We hope to have you back someday.
That would be great.
All right, it's been great. I love this figure. Hefty figure for a big guy. Can't thank everyone enough. And go get your Leatherface because it's awesome. And probably try to pose it like this, I would say.
Hey, thanks guys. Had a really great time on Strike a Pose, posing this Sideshow Collectibles Leatherface figure. I mean, look at that. I didn't win, but it was a really fun time. I don't know if I agree with Terry's decision of giving extra points for using all three weapons. I mean, come on, Terry. I mean, Leatherface doesn't have three hands, does he? No, look, a sharp knife isn't terrifying at all. I mean, I'm going minimal. A sharp knife. Look at that. He could kill somebody. That's scary, Terry. Take another look, please. But anyway, thanks, guys. It was a really good time, and I'd love to be back and do it again.
Guys, thanks so much for including me in the show today. I really had a great time. This is an amazing figure. One that I recommend to anybody who's a classic horror fan. And I had a great time posing him. And of course I didn't win, but Adam had a great pose, and I'm very happy that he won. And truly, I was more concerned that Frank lost. I just wanted to make sure that Frank lost. So, good on you, Frank. Thanks again, guys.
All right, I had a really great time watching this episode unfold. You could just see how each contestant's knowledge of horror lent itself to their ability to be able to generate an awesome pose. In the sake of Adam, his inclusion, his consideration for weight really took him over the top and allowed him to enter into the winner's circle. Frank's knowledge of artistry, the two-dimensional art format that he's familiar with, really contributed to his selection of pose. It really looked very cool. And in the case of Anthony, the tribal knowledge he's generated over the course of decades of being a horror fan was enough for him to be able to generate a truly horrific pose. And that's about it for this episode of Strike a Pose. Be sure to let us know who you thought won the contest in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Be sure to subscribe by hitting the S icon on your screen and click the bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. If you'd like more info on the items featured in this video, click the link provided under product info. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.